bluffing and is using his proposal
Oh, no.
as some sort of negotiating tactic.
What?
That's the same sentiment
well.
shared by Amar Zar.
First, this is clearly not going to happen, right?
And real estate broker Ali Alfarajala.
A lot of people are calling me and texting me saying, hey, how did your vote work out? How was that third party vote?
Both were so-called protest voters. Neither supported Trump or Harris. Are there any sort of second thoughts now about having supported a third-party candidate?
Absolutely not. And I'll still do it again and again and again.
I didn't vote for Trump. So a protest vote, I don't know. I would say it was a targeted vote of conscience to say that
if it was that easy for Trump to dupe these people, then it would have been even easier for Kamala Harris to convince them to vote for her if she actually wanted them to. Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, again, it's not that these people aren't. They are. It's that if you want to blame someone, you can choose between a gaggle of cards, which, again, describes the entire American electorate, or the incredibly powerful, massive, like more than 100 million people strong democratic apparatus fielded by people with immense power, billions of dollars in financial backing, who chose consciously not only to shit on people who were concerned about this issue, but not even record data for how many people were concerned by it, so they didn't even know how badly they were losing on this issue. Meanwhile, Trump just told comforting lies. He said he'd end the war immediately. Like, you can't, I'm sorry, you have to do politics, right? Like, you can't. It's just kind of, it should be an embarrassment to Democrats. They lost this badly in Dearborn. Like that, like this is on you. Like you should, like this is your poor performance, right? Like, I don't know why you're deflecting that elsewhere. Like, the people were stupid. The people were also stupid in 2020. The brain state hasn't changed that much. Humanity hasn't evolved that much in 4 years, Pretty much the same meat and potatoes up here. They were always stupid. You f***ed up.
the children of Gaza have to mean something. Their death has to mean something.
And while Arab Americans here were divided in the past, going forward, one point is uniting them: opposition to Trump's proposal to move Palestinians out of Gaza.
The community will be unified. I will tell you this. The Palestinian people would rather die and live in a demolition site than to be ethnically cleansed and being sent out of Gaza to Egypt or Jordan.
So again, Anderson, after spending some time here in the Arab American community, you really get a sense that they feel like they've been let down by both Republicans and Democrats. Certainly, there's a great deal of frustration after hearing what Trump is proposing, but there's also a feeling that had Harris been elected,
why is his jaw so square? Well, I
admi-
imagine that probably unlike you and a lot of people in chat, he exercises regularly and watches his macros. You actually have that too, you know? It's kind of like you'd be looking at like a guy with abs and you're like, well, how did those get there? And you actually have them as well. They're just under, you know, to call it baby fat would maybe be a little bit charitable because you're in your mid-20s. Let's say like a freshman 55, you know?
Administration, the
I'm
feeling
sorry,
here
it's
is that Palestinians would still be suffering. Anderson?
Just Carol, thanks very much. And Dearborn with me now. Put some numbers to the story. CNN senior data reporter Harry Enton. Generally speaking, has there been much an appetite in the U.S. for to get involved in rebuilding Gaza?
No, there has not been.
Oh,
we have no new polling since last night, right? Polling works fast. It doesn't work that fast. But in the polling that we had prior, or that was taken towards the middle end of last year, what we saw was the overwhelming majority of Americans opposed the idea that the United States should take a lead role in reconstructing Gaza. You could see it right there, 57% opposed, just 37% support. And what I should note is the support was lowest among Trump's own base of Republicans. So the idea that this is going to sell among the American people at large or the Republican base, simply put, he definitely wasn't looking at the polls before he
Trump just blurted this out because his brain is soup, and he was in a meeting, like in a shadowy room where a bunch of cigar smoking oligarchs told him, like, here's how it's going to go down, and the goal of this is to give $500 billion to military contractors. And Trump, who is stupid, walked out in front of a podium and just said out loud the long-term plan there, rather than doing some bullshit, you know, because now he's already walked it back. Did you know he walked it back? He's walked it back. He's walked back those comments. Now initially he said that we would take over the Gaza Strip, that we would clean it up, we would do such and such. And since then, he's walked it back, and now he's saying like, well, what I actually meant was after Israel has done all the work, we would like oversee it, but we won't put any troops there, which is like, he was a little bit too straightforward because nobody liked what he said about Gaza. Not even MAGA types liked what he said about Gaza, because the average MAGA type is isolationist. You know, they don't like the idea of like, oh yeah, let's set up boots on the ground to Gaza. That's just not, you know, it just doesn't, it's not popular with anyone. Kind of giving that a little bit of the fell for it again award, I guess. We're like, oh wow, turns out old Donnie T is actually a pawn of the oligarchs, just like he was last time. Did he or did his people? Both. No, he has as well. Hold on. Trump, Gaza comments, walk back. He really did. Let me see. So after Trump made that statement where he said that America would take over the Gaza Strip, which is, again, like a f***ing insane thing to say, top diplomat and his main spokesperson walked back the idea, rebuffing the suggestion that U.S. wants to take ownership of the territory, insisting they only want to remove the Gazans temporarily to allow for reconstruction, as opposed to like Trump saying they just need to be removed permanently. And Trump himself has walked back what he said. I'm trying to find what Trump has said to walk it back, but it wasn't on camera. No, I don't think it was on camera. I think it was like follow-up statements. Where was it? Am I misremembering? My recollection was that Donald Trump walked this back personally. If he didn't, then basically everyone in his administration did. Like a bunch of people in the Trump administration were like, no, you know?
The White House press secretary and the U.S. Secretary of State said on Wednesday that President Donald Trump's plan to remove Palestinians from Gaza is only intended to be temporary, as part of a massive rebuilding operation.
The only thing President Trump has done very generously, in my view, is offer the United States willingness to step in, clear the debris, clean the place up from all the destruction that's on the ground, clean it up of all these unexploded munitions. And in the meantime, the people living there will not be able, the people who call that home will not be able to live there while you have...
You know, it seems like it's actually kind of a shit show right now. Everyone's kind of like just using the artilleryman's guessing method of determining how much they should reveal that they're cucked to Israel. Listen, look at this. This is insane. I didn't realize how much of a spread there was on this. Okay, so these are Trump administration officials like offering their opinion on elements of this. Okay, look at this. On sending U.S. troops to Gaza, Trump on Tuesday will do what's necessary. If it's necessary, we'll do that. Rubio on Wednesday, it was not meant as a hostile move. It was meant like to rebuild and be in charge of rebuilding. Levitt on Wednesday, the president has not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. Trump on Thursday, the Gaza Strip would be turned over to the U.S. by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. No soldiers by the U.S. would be needed. So Trump on Tuesday versus Trump on Thursday. Okay, that's the walk back that I remember seeing when I woke up this morning and did my news scan. On the U.S. taking long-term ownership and overseeing reconstruction of Gaza, Trump on Tuesday, I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East. We have the opportunity to do something that could be phenomenal, but the Riviera of the Middle East, classic. Rubio on Wednesday. What Trump announced yesterday is the offer, the willingness of the U.S. to become responsible for the reconstruction of that area. Levitt on Wednesday. It's been made very clear to the president that the U.S. needs to be involved in this rebuilding effort. I really like that language there. It's been made very clear to the president that the United States needs to be involved in this rebuilding effort. I'm sorry, who's making it clear that the U.S. needs to do something to the president of the United States? Just wondering. Like, oh, really? Who sat him down for that conversation? Which oligarch? Jesus. It does not mean American taxpayers will be funding this effort. Trump on Thursday. The U.S., working with great development teams all over the world, will slowly and carefully begin the construction of what could become one of the greatest and most spectacular developments of its kind on Earth. No soldiers by the U.S. will be needed. Stability for the region would reign. So it's a shit show over there. Who would be funding this if not the taxpayers? It would be the taxpayers. It would be the taxpayers. It would be the taxpayers. Just to, you know, it would be you. Again, I know this is like probably getting tiring, but there's really no other way to frame this in the context of Israel. The only reason any of this is happening is because it's all a project to funnel taxpayer money into contractors that work with the military. That's it. It's all a way of turning public tax funds into private assets. That's it. That's literally it. That's the reason why. That's all. That is the reason. You know? the